Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 things which have basically been forgotten about in Brawl Stars currently right now. Not talking about things in the past, things that are in-game right now that people just seem to either forget or just really bad and we don't really see too often. So before we jump into it, make sure you're using a create code. That'd be greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Alright guys, so the first one, which most people probably would have forgotten about by now, it's definitely got to be the rotten banana gadget with Ash. So this gadget was released on the 1st of March, I believe. This gadget was absolutely insane. So to begin with, it only removed 20% of your health, and then you got a 50% rage, which was absolutely insane. It actually was one of the most broken gadgets in the game's history, but because it got emergency nerfed so quickly, people didn't actually realize. And one thing with Ash as well, it doesn't really get played too much as well. So yeah, rotten banana right now is in a rotten state. It's so bad. 40% of your health when you press the gadget, you only get 40% of your rage, and a lot of the time that rage just depletes so quickly. So that's why I think this gadget is pretty much forgotten about, because literally no one uses it, right? Everyone uses the heal gadget because it can combine really well with the rats. A lot of the times you can just when you have your rats, you can pop that gadget and then throw out your rats. That can get your rage back up, and of course your health is back up as well. So just overall, this rotten banana gadget does need some type of rework, because ever since it got nerfed, it's basically become unusable. Okay, so now moving on to another brawler which basically everyone has forgotten about. Is Mr. P. Well, you might not have forgotten because he's just so absolutely trash and has been for such a long time that I think he's pretty much forgotten within the meta, especially considering in the Power League draft. Like, I don't think he actually counters anything. Literally every single brawler can pretty much override Mr. P because he deals no damage. And another thing as well is handle with care, stop power. Ever since it got reworked, I don't know how long ago it was, I don't think I've seen anyone use this stop power, just because it's a little bit confusing. Every 4 seconds you get an additional 40% of damage, but it's only at max range. It's only after the bounce that damage actually gets up by 40%. A lot of time with Mr. P, you're not actually hitting that maximum bounce shot, if you get what I mean. I just think it's really complex and he needs some type of damage buff or something about him to make him somewhat usable in the meta, right? Maybe they could start with his star power handle with care and actually make it just with every single briefcase hit. That'd be pretty nice. But yeah, overall Mr. P is just really bad in the meta and completely forgotten about. Alright guys, so now moving away from the type of balancing around the meta and actually talking about a little bit about the skins. So of course there's going to be quite a few skins in a game which a lot of people just completely forget about, or just that bad that people don't want to pick them up, and one of them has to be Mecha Bow. I don't think I've ever gone into a ladder game in my existence of Brawl Stars and seen this orange Mecha Bow skin. I even forgot I purchased it until I got some free pins last update, which was actually a Mecha Bow one. So I'm guessing they're trying to incentivize people picking up this skin, but overall I just think it's completely forgotten about. Same goes with Mecha Crow as well. You also have the other variants, like people don't forget about those because those are PowerPoint skins, but this one I think it costs quite a few gems as well, and that's why you don't really see it too often. There's a few other skins as well. Let me know whether what brawlers you think have a forgotten skin. I think I've got a couple at the top of my head. I've got Beach Time Mortis, which I don't ever see, maybe because everyone's just rocking like Rogue Mortis and Mega Mortis right now. Also Mascot Daryl, I literally barely see, but those are just a few handful of forgotten skins. As I said, let me know down in the comment section below whether there's any more. Okay, so now jumping into the next build that you probably completely forgot about unless you play weekend events, which I guess not many people actually play it now. I think it's this Pam build. So with Mama's Hug and Pulse Modulator, this build is basically non-existent in the game. I don't think I've seen anyone in Power League competitive play this build in literal years. Ever since Scrap Sucker came out, the other gadgets have been completely forgotten about. Only 1,200 healing. It's just terrible. I said only really good in the ticket. Well, it's not even ticketed events, it's weekend events now, and only good. Same with the star power as well. That's only good in most game modes as well, because you're getting back healing from the bots. But as I said, it's just not really worthwhile when it comes down to competitive whatsoever. The other build is used 100% of the time, so I'd like to see some love to these other gadgets and star powers, which literally haven't received any type of buff or anything like that for over years. Okay, so next up on the forgotten things in Brawl Stars, we have ticks. This build is just absolutely terrible. I only really see it in the low levels whenever I'm playing on like my mini account, etc. I do see my mini quite a fair bit, but in terms of competitive, this gadget's completely forgotten about. And again, I would like to see, just like the Pam build, some more love for these gadgets and star powers. Automatic as well, it is decent in its, just say if you don't have the other star power, it can actually be okay, because a 9% reload speed buff is actually quite a fair bit, but just because of how good well-oiled is, especially with how you play Tick, this star power is like completely irrelevant when you have well-oiled. So I'd like to see a little bit of a balance when it comes down to this, because my mania and this star power automatic is just way worse than the other build. Alright guys, jumping into the next one, which I think a lot of people probably have forgotten about, is the Masters League skins, but also the fast forward gadgets. So fast forward gadget, you guys know, probably does suck right now a lot. I don't think I remember seeing a Shelly whatsoever use this gadget, and if I do, I'm like, what is the actual point? Because you're just making yourself so vulnerable, and it takes a long time to get the dash off. Clay Pigeons is just way better. Then also on the topic of skins, you have Masters League. So the reason why I mention this, because I never see these skins whatsoever, but also Supercell are actually in a legal battle with this Masters League collaboration, just because there was like a LATAM tournament about over a year ago, and also there was some news regarding it about in July that basically these tournament organizers didn't pay out whatsoever. So if they still do not pay out on this, I feel like Supercell could then just remove these skins from the game, right? Because if they're not paying out on the tournament, which they literally had a legal contract binding to it, then yeah, there's got to be some ramifications to that, and definitely removing these skins from the game could be a thing in the future. You'll have to wait and see how that legal battle goes, but I will leave a link to that in the description anyway with that tweet, just if you guys are unaware. But anyways, these skins aren't really that great anyway, and I basically just wasted a lot of gems on them just because I wanted every single skin in the game. Alright guys, so jumping into another one, another build which is just completely forgotten about. Ever since the introduction of Bonnie, I don't think I've ever saw anyone use this combination of the crash test gadget and then also the wisdom tooth star power. The other combination is just far better, and I would like, considering like Bonnie has been meta for such a long time, I would like to actually have a choice between star powers and gadgets. Of course, that's the main aim of Brawl Stars in the end, is to have like at least a consideration as to which star power to use. But the star power is just absolutely terrible. It has no range on the little explosion it has when it does hit an opponent, and it doesn't even deal a lot of damage as well. And then you have the crash test gadget, which it seems okay, but I just feel like it's really hard to get value with. It is pretty fun though, but just overall the other build is just way better. Okay, so next up on the forgotten list, we have Barley. So Barley is a brawler right now which has had terrible use rates in competitive and just in ladder overall. I don't really remember any times I see a Barley in a ladder. It would be very rare, probably in certain heist maps, but you just don't see Barley being used whatsoever in any type of map. I think the main reason for this is because his best game mode by far was Siege. It was literally one of the best brawlers inside of that game mode. You could easily get a lot of damage onto the Ike, but of course that's been removed. And then you've not really seen any type of buff for Barley. There's other throwers in the game which just have their like unique playstyle. Even like Dynamite, I would say, is somewhat better than Barley right now, just because you can get a lot of damage out of the super. I mean, sometimes you do see a Barley on Hot Potato and it can thrive, but just overall in meta, I just feel like he's completely forgotten about and definitely one of the least used brawlers in the game. Okay, so next up we have the build of Crow, which I don't think I've ever seen in competitive ever since this gadget got released. Well, actually, when the gadget first got released, the booster one, it actually was incredibly OP. Then it got nerfed, and then you never saw any time of it whatsoever. You've always seen the slow and toxic gadget being used every single time. Then also as well, I never see the Carrion Crow star power being used whatsoever as well. Might be decent in the heist, but it's always the other build that's being used with Crow, so I'd like to see some love to his other star power and gadget as well. Okay, and lastly, for the forgotten things in Brawl Stars, we have this Sandy gadget sleep simulator. So this gadget was actually somewhat fun when it first got released, and then whenever Sandy's second gadget got released, you've never seen this one being used whatsoever. The fact that you have to stay still for 2 seconds, I don't really like any gadgets like that. I remember when Fidget Spinner first came into the game, you literally froze and didn't move when you popped that gadget. That since got changed, so I'd like some kind of change like that with Sandy. Of course, I don't think you should just be able to run around and then just heal up fully in 2 seconds. There has to be some kind of like negative effect, right? I'm not too sure how you can actually balance this, but you shouldn't just completely sleep. I know that is the kind of aim of the gadget and why it's called a sleep simulator, but you get what I mean. I just don't think it really works in Brawl Stars. You're just going to get caught out so easily. Alright guys, it's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this one. So try to switch it up a little bit, but mainly just talking about the brawlers, star powers, gadgets that are just really bad and need some love. But overall, let me know what you think is completely forgotten about in Brawl Stars, whether that's literally like a pin, whether that's like a game mode within Brawl Stars, whether that's like club quests, like that's just completely forgotten about for me. Like I don't even see myself trying to aim towards like completing them. I just complete them passively, and yeah, there's probably a bunch of other things as well. So that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.